Welcome to Sip No Tech. I'm Alex. How you doing? We're going to be reviewing the Sony Xperia 10. This is a mid-end phone right dab in the center of Sony's lineup. I keep wanting to say it's the XA, but it's a new name, but it essentially replaced the XA in its position. So, with that said, we're going to talk about everything you need to know about this phone right now. When you look at the Xperia 10, one thing immediately sticks out, and that is the really long body. So yeah, we're getting longer bodies. 18:9 aspect ratio is common nowadays. Basically, every flagship phone and a lot of mid-end phones are 18:9 aspect ratio. We've left the 16:9 way back in the field now. But Sony has completely ramped that even further with a 21:9 aspect ratio phone. It'll be followed with the Xperia 1 flagship, which will also have this. But as of right now, this phone and the Plus version of this phone are the only ones with a 21:9 aspect ratio. What that is a cinematic aspect ratio, what movies play on, that really wide, long frame. Some people love it, some people hate it. And it's a weird aspect ratio to play on for a phone because we've never seen it before. You see it on monitors. A lot of people have 21:9 aspect ratio monitors. That's commonplace now. But when you're talking about a cell phone, when we're talking about something you could hold in your hand, it's just unheard of. We haven't seen this yet until Sony just threw it out here. So the numbers behind this panel are as follows. It's a 6-inch 1080p panel. The exact numbers are 2520 by 1080p. It's a 1080p panel, yet we're getting 457 ppi. That's pretty darn good. I'm actually pretty happy with the amount of pixel density for a 6-inch display of this size, and it's only 1080p. We're not even looking at Quad HP or like a 4K display. And I do have to say this is a personal preference, but with Super Vivid mode on, which I do turn on for every Sony device I use, I really like the saturation and colors emitting from this panel here. Part of that might be the illusion that it's a 21:9 aspect ratio, so it's something different. But I really like watching movies and videos and actually looking at the wallpapers on this phone. Speaking of wallpapers, the wallpapers on this phone are really good. I never mentioned this in any video. Samsung, whatever, Apple, I don't really leave their default wallpapers on for long. I have here really cool animated wallpapers, really cool static wallpapers. Sony did a really good job showcasing the display with these wallpapers, so I've actually kept them on. I really like how they pop on this phone. Certain things are fine, like if you go on YouTube, it's the same issues you would have on a 21:9 aspect ratio monitor or 21:10 aspect ratio monitor. I've made videos in the past showcasing you how to use Chrome and to expand a YouTube video to fill up the entire 21:9 screen. But if you don't do that, you get the black bars cut across the top on the bottom. Or if you're using like a 4:3 or 16:9 aspect ratio video or any content, you get black bars all the way around. So we have the same type of issues on this device. You could still do pinch to zoom to crop out information when you push in to fill up the entire screen. YouTube allows you to do that. Google allows you to do that on basically all Android phones with new versions of YouTube. And that's the same here. You could still do that with this particular phone. However, that's still not the best solution to go at. What you have to do is actually find content that's 21:9 aspect ratio to really appreciate this. And that means having a movie that does that. I do have to say, I do enjoy this 21:9 aspect ratio when watching content, when viewing content. It really does change how I watch things on my phone. I don't really enjoy watching television shows like Game of Thrones or Walking Dead or watching any movies on my Plex on my mobile phone. I will do it if I'm forced to, like if I'm stuck on a car for a long journey. But most of the time, I really don't like watching it because I feel like I'm not enjoying the experience. I'd rather watch on a television or a laptop or a big screen tablet. What Sony is trying to do here is create a solution for a problem that people weren't really complaining about. People still watch movies on 18 by 9, 16 by 9 aspect ratio devices, and they don't complain about it. I don't think I've heard anybody ever complain about watching, oh, a movie's not a 21 by 9 aspect ratio. That's not cool because it's that in the theater and I want that in my phone. No, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that before. However, if you've never used it, you can't really know what you're missing until you try it. So I do like that. I do like the fact that Sony attempted this and that it came out pretty good even for this mid-end device. Speaking of mid-end, this is purely a mid-end device through and through. Actually, I would even argue that it's even lower than what a mid-end should be. Mid-end standards are really high nowadays, especially with the newly announced Google Pixel 3a, which we'll check out very soon as well. And it's a competitor to this phone. This phone is priced around $350. It's pretty hefty. I have to say this price point is not a good price point for what this phone offers, and I'll go into detail on that. I do have an issue with this phone's processor. We have a Snapdragon 630 with 3 gigabytes of RAM here, and while there's nothing wrong with Snapdragon 630, I've had many Snapdragon 630 phones. They were much cheaper than this price point. We're starting at about $350 for the Xperia 10. And at that ballpark, about $400, you can get the new Pixel 3a with a superior camera, a superior processor. Heck, look at Xiaomi. They've been doing it for years with the Redmi. Yes, this is not a flagship phone. Yes, we're not going to compete with the Xperia 1, the Pixel 3s, all the Snapdragon 855 phones, right? I totally get it. But at the same time, this combination, the Snapdragon 630, 3 gigabytes of RAM for $350, it's not good value. It is definitely not good value. Performance here is significantly not enjoyable compared to other phones in this price point. Some of it might also be perception. When you're using a phone that you're paying much less for what it's offering you, you kind of perceive that, okay, yeah, this is actually much better than it is. On the other hand, when you're paying more and experiencing less, you also feel that way, like, okay, yeah, this is not worth it. That's exactly what I'm getting with Xperia 10. I'm feeling it's not worth what I'm paying for in this ballpark. I've used a lot of phones with a Snapdragon 630. It's an okay processor. It works. Most of the time, it's enjoyable when I'm using phones in the $200 range. When I'm using phones closer to the $400 range, I expect more. I expect it to be smoother. I expect it to be faster. Sony's really just banking you on buying it for this weird aspect ratio, this unique aspect ratio that nobody else has. Because otherwise, if you look at it as a whole package, there's no reason for you to buy this phone. Performance verifies that. I do have to say I am pleasantly surprised with the battery, the 2870 milliamp hour battery. It's under 3,000. I don't understand why people can't just throw a 3,000. It's a nice round number. But 2870 with this Sony software, surprisingly, is very good. I lasted a full day, no problem, no issues at all. Man, I've been getting really good battery life. So props on Sony for the battery life. I'm surprised. Now let's talk briefly about the audio on the Xperia 10. You have bottom firing audio, which basically every modern phone has. It's almost the same layout as most phones nowadays. And Xperias usually have really good audio control. This one here is somewhat like that. Audio quality is solid. I mean, phone calls, you're basically on par with everybody else. Everybody's phone call quality is pretty close nowadays. You know, this is a mid-range phone, so it's good enough. One thing Sony has done really well throughout the years is a consistent UI experience. It's always been very clean, stock Android feeling experience, just the way Google likes it. You swipe left, you get your Google Now cards. You swipe up, you get all your Pixel experience. App dock stuff. So I really like that they continue there. But one thing that they added this year that wasn't here before, at least I've never seen it before, is this thing called Slide Sense. So Samsung's done it, HTC's done it in the past, where on the right-hand side of the screen, you see a little line. You can tap on it twice, and like these quick app menus and quick settings menu pop up from the right. You can click it with your thumb. It's supposed to be more easily accessible than swiping down and doing these things yourself, or I guess manually opening your apps. It's a lot like Edge Sense, except instead of sliding, you double tap it. You can disable this, so you don't need to use it if you don't want to, but I find it irrelevant. I never really use Edge Sense on my Samsung phones either. And this is more of the same. I feel like it's a solution for something that you don't really need, especially for a Sony phone. I'm also going to get pretty deep with this whole camera thing because I use this camera in depth, and I have a lot I want to talk about. We have 2 wide sensors, one 13 megapixel f2.0 and one 5 megapixel f2.4. And that one is a depth sensor. So this is one of those dual camera modes where one of them is used for depth. I do have to say I am quite disappointed with this Xperia 10's camera experience. One, the app redesign is no longer the Sony experience I'm used to that I like. I really enjoy using Sony cameras for their app. I really like the former app that they use. This new redesign is one of those things where I just don't like it. I like the old one better. One, they removed the shutter button as well. That's a Sony staple for Xperias. Even up to last year, the Xperia XA2 had that as well. I don't know why they got rid of it on the Xperia 10. So that was a huge thing for me for Sony. I love that button. I mean, that will not deter you from buying the phone, though. If you've never used the Sony shutter button on an Xperia phone, it won't matter to you. It's just, us longtime Sony fans, that was a really nice feature to have that other phones don't have. Now, in terms of quality, like other Sony Xperia phones, when you're shooting in like really well-lit environments or like an overcast sky, the quality of the photos are usable. They're very solid. They're decent photos. Sharpness is a little bit of an issue. Sometimes the exposure can be a problem, but that's things Sony's have set. That's things Xperias have always had issues with. Now, one big problem is the camera app, right? The camera app here is really laggy. You get black screens all the time. Sometimes you click on the shutter button, it doesn't take a photo for a good, I'm not even exaggerating, a good like 1 to 2 seconds. It is really slow. And once again, I've seen this before on Sony phones, but not to this extent. It's pretty bad here. But where this camera absolutely falls apart and it makes it almost unusable, unbearable, is the low light. You just can't have a low light camera this bad. And it's weird because I really feel like the XA2 had better. It really had better camera quality, photo quality than the Xperia 10, and I don't understand how that happens. It's a generation newer. It's a full redesign. It's supposed to be better. I don't feel that way. I really genuinely feel like the Xperia 10s, just look at the photos. Just let the photos speak for themselves. And yes, you could say, oh, hey, Alex, you're comparing this with the Pixel 3. You've been using the Pixel 3 too long. Well, the Pixel 3a is a competitor to this phone, and it has the same camera as the Pixel 3. There's just a lot of things about this camera that, once again, for $350, you should be getting a lot more. Because when at the heart of it, and part of the reason I'm so frustrated is Sony makes the best sensors in the world. I don't even think that's a debate right now. A lot of industry people understand that. They make probably the best mirrorless cameras. It's hard to even debate that there's someone better. They make really good mirrorless cameras. They make really good sensors. Everybody buys Sony sensors for their smartphones. They do. Everybody knows that. But why can they not make a good mobile photography phone? I still don't get it. Yes, this isn't the flagship, I understand, but there still needs to be a standard, right? Even for a mid-end phone, they can't drop below a certain threshold, and that's where I'm a little frustrated here. Oh yeah, and also I found a really weird kind of thing going on with the Xperia 10 and the auto rotate. It has a really aggressive auto rotate sensor, I guess. It just auto rotates when it really shouldn't be auto rotating. And this thing is really annoying. I haven't seen this on any Android phone that I've reviewed, so it's kind of strange that it's happening here. But yeah, it's a little frustrating, as you can see from the B-roll here. And if you're one of those people who really want this 21:9 aspect ratio, and I really don't know who out there really has requested this, but if you really want that, go for the best of the best, because this is going to sour your experience with a 21:9 aspect ratio screen, at least right now, because we don't have any options. Maybe in the future we'll have more. But if you really want to experience that, go for the flagship Xperia 1, because this one, there's nothing to offer here. The value just isn't worth it. So you might as well just go higher and get that full value experience. If you're looking for the budget of this budget in this $400 range, there are much better phones. Look at the new Pixel 3a. That I think right now is going to be the hands down winner for this price point. There's just a lot of things that I wanted to like about the Xperia 10, and there are a lot of things I do like about the Xperia 10. But I just can't recommend it to you guys as an everyday phone, because you're using just one phone for 2 years. I don't think this one should be the one.
And that's it. Be sure to subscribe here. Hit the bell button so you don't miss any of our videos. and check out our other videos right here. Until next time,